Before you get married, you should determine the line that you will not cross if your spouse does something that you just cannot forgive. Now, this requires some serious thought, because if during your wedding vows you say the line for better or for worse, and sometimes that's taken out of many wedding vows today, you need to determine what is the worst and decide whether or not you'll cross that line. Stay with us and we'll find out exactly what that line could possibly be. We'll be right back.
Free clothes, free education, free electronics, free food, free everything. Can you afford free? Get free products for yourself. Give away free products to others. Get paid. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Visit our websites. Your pocket will thank you.
Welcome back. If you're going to get married or you are married, I want you to do an exercise with us. And this exercise is going to determine some things about your marriage or about your potential to get married. Now, if you're divorced, you don't have to do this because you've already done it. So you don't have to participate. What I want you to do is take a sheet of paper, and on it I want you to put your name at the top, hold it lengthwise, and then draw a line, and then draw underneath it the issue that your spouse would have to commit or do in order for you not to cross that line, and then put your spouse's name at the bottom here. So it should look something like this. Right? You at the top line, and issue. And what you're going to do is write that issue out, and then we're going to look at it. You're going to look at it. Now, this is not a relationship ending issue. This is a marriage ending issue. And there are plenty of things that could happen to end a relationship. But we're talking about that. This is a relationship before marriage. But we're talking about a marriage ending issue. What we're attempting to do is identify what could possibly happen in your marriage that would cause you to say, this is over. So again, you have your name at the top, you have a line, you have the issue, and then you have your spouse's name at the bottom, because that line, you are going to determine whether or not you would cross that line in order to get to your spouse and to make some reconciliation, even though you're not the offender. Now, that offense could be any number of things, and I wouldn't begin to be able to tell you what to write there. But I want you to look at your paper after you've done that. And if you have something written on that line, or under that line that you would not cross, then I want to congratulate you, because unfortunately you're not ready to get married, and you're not prepared to stay married. Now, why do I say that? And I'm pretty sure that that's shocking some of you right now. The question is, did you say for better or for worse when you got married? And I realize up front that this is a very ticklish area, very ticklish subject, because you want to say, well, am I supposed to take anything? No, that's not what we're going to say, and that's not what we're saying at this point. But did you mean for better or for worse? Well, what was the worst? What did you have in your mind when you said that, when you were taking your vows? You knew what what better meant, but you didn't know what worse meant. You didn't think about what does worse mean. And the reason why you need to make that determination before you get married, because it is very, very possible that sometime during your marriage, you will meet the worst, and you will see the worst in your spouse, and you will have to determine, am I going to cross this line for something that my spouse has done, and try to keep our marriage together? Now, you're going to marry, or you are married to somebody, keep it in mind, that has been single all their life. You don't think that they're going to come into the marriage. Our previous video to this was baggage. You don't think that something may possibly happen. Not to say it always doesn't. There are some marriages where nothing ever happens. But when we look at the divorce rate, we see that a lot of things are happening that people won't cross the line for. But do you think that something might possibly happen in your marriage that you'll have to make a determination, I'm going to cross that line, or you'll have to come to that point in your marriage? Again, anything could happen. Two people living in close quarters that have been by themselves in different spaces, now they come together in one space, or something, any number of things or situations happen to cause somebody to do something that you just say, I'm not going to cross this line, and this marriage is over. And you really need to think about that. Why is that? Because again, when this happens, when you can cross the line, then you know you don't have a celebrity marriage or the kind of marriages that wealthy people have. What do I mean for that? Most celebrities or most wealthy people have marriages of convenience. How do I know that? Because when it's no longer convenient, they're no longer married. Those are marriages of convenience. And you have to come to the point that you will cross the line with your spouse for something that you would not normally tolerate. When you can do that, then you know you have a marriage of inconvenience and that you're really married at that time. That's how you make that determination. Now, I'm not talking about normal conflicts here, because normal conflicts are going to happen all the time. As a matter of fact, you wouldn't want to have somebody or be married to somebody who you see things the same way all the time. They don't have a difference of opinion. You like everything exactly the same. And you say, have you ever run into a couple that says, we've never had a fight? We've never had a disagreement. Now, I'm not talking about just regular fights. Now, remember, we're talking about marriage-ending issues. But if you have, sometimes those little things turn into big things, and they don't manifest themselves until somebody says, hey, I'm done. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But you want to be in a situation where you can actually have some kind of differences with a person because it makes your marriage interesting. That's what brings a little bit of spice to the marriage. You don't want to have it constantly, but it brings a little bit of spice to the marriage. You don't like the same foods, or I like this, you like that, or that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about situations that can end the marriage, because even in your family, everything didn't run smoothly, and you had situations that you had to deal with. So that's what we're talking about. Now, let me say this, and let me be very clear on this. There's one line that we do not cross at all, ever. If there is sexual, physical, emotional, or verbal abuse. If you are being abused by your spouse in that way, I'm going to say in no uncertain terms, get out of there. The reason is, and this is going to sound very harsh, and I told you these videos are not for kids, that once your spouse has tasted blood, they will never go back. And what we're saying to you is that unless they are under clinical supervision, you do not take a person who is abusive in any of the ways as just mentioned. You do not take them back into your house, because it's a danger to you personally and to your children if you have them. No blubbering, no crying. They have to be under clinical supervision. They have to make the decided efforts, and you have to see those efforts before you take them back into your house. And you know something? Unfortunately, there are a lot of you who are not even going to listen to what I'm saying. You're going to take them back into the house anyway. You're not going to take my word for it. But when those situations happen, they have to feed the need. You're going to hear me say that quite a bit. Feed the need. And once they start doing that or getting into that behavior, and that has come out of the bag, you need some kind of supervision in order for that to go back and be suppressed totally forever, so that you're not in danger. And it's amazing, though, what some couples would divorce for some little foolishness. I don't put the toothpaste back on right, or I don't put the toilet seat down, or I don't wash the dishes, or I don't open the door, or something like that. There are a lot of silly things that people come to court for and file a decree of divorcement, and it's called irreconcilable differences. You know something? Whenever it's irreconcilable differences, the real issue is probably never dealt with. And it's not, sometimes some people just don't want to be married anymore. and what you're dealing with is a situation where a person won't even say, hey, I don't want to be married anymore. It's now just irreconcilable differences. Now, you could be dealing with any number of different situations, and you're getting divorced, and you don't even know why you're getting divorced. And again, you don't want to have a celebrity marriage where it's a marriage of convenience, and when you no longer can be married, then you say, we're going to split up and we're going to go our separate ways. Sometimes, with celebrities, let me just deal with this for a second. They deal with a situation where something happens, and here's a couple $1,000,000. Get out of here. I don't want to deal with you anymore. And that's not marriage. That's a business. Now, that's not to say marriage is a business. We're going to deal with that in a video as well. But this is not the way you want to deal with a marriage, or you want to end a marriage by saying, here's a couple $1,000,000. Get out of here. I'm going to get another wife, or get another husband, or get another whatever. And that's certainly something you don't want to have to deal with, right? You've seen couples who have been married for 50, 60, 70 years, and they get divorced. You know why? Because something may have happened over a course of time and time again, that somebody says, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. Which brings us to another question, and our final issue here. How many times do I cross the line? How many times? The only thing that I can tell you is 70 times 7. That's what the scriptures say, and you got to be willing and ready to go the distance, right? Now, that's not to say that you need to be in an abusive situation where you get abused. We already discussed that. But a person definitely needs to be able to be making some effort in order to change whatever it is behavior that they're exhibiting that will cause you to say, listen, I want to end this and I want to get out of here and I'm not willing to go any further. That's what love is. That's what marriage is. Bearing the good, the bad, and the ugly. When you are willing to do that, when you are willing to cross the line for your spouse and love them through whatever it is they're going through, then you're ready to get married and you're ready to stay married. And the couples that have been married for any length of time, if they've been married for any length of time, they probably cross the line once or twice for each other. Sometimes you go through a whole marriage and they never have to cross the line. Those are very fortunate people. But marriage is not an easy business. It's not an easy situation. It takes work, it takes time, and it takes development in order to develop a relationship that will last through just about anything. But again, that doesn't mean you have to be abused. So you're going to have to determine what is it and when you will cross the line, and if you will cross the line, then you'll have a good chance at having a long-lasting marriage. This is Peter G signing out, saying that we love you. We'll see you next time. And the next episode in our series is going to be the #1 reason for divorce. God bless you. And remember, love chose you.